Hi, everyone. This is Christy Keith. I'm a Senior Communications Strategist for Fear Free. Thank you so much for joining us. Could you go over to the chat window and type and let me know if you can hear me? I got a strange error message when I started to start the chat. I just want to make sure. Oh, you can hear us. Thank you so much, Little Technical Army. We appreciate your support. And we also very much appreciate you being here on a weeknight evening, and especially are grateful to State Farm for sponsoring this webinar and their support of Fear Free. Before I introduce our speaker, just a couple of housekeeping items. First, we welcome your questions. Please type them here in the chat window. You can ask them. In fact, we ask you to please be sure to ask them as soon as they occur to you, rather than saving them till the end. Don't be a hoarder. That makes it easier for us to get through them and to pace ourselves. So anything pops into your head, please ask it when it does. Next, we are always asked if these are being recorded and will be available later. They absolutely are, and they will. You should be able to find it. Usually it's within a week. If there's anything in the presentation that needs editing, it can take a little longer, but it will be on our website at fearfreepets.com/webinars. Now, with that all out of the way, I would like to introduce our speaker. I'm incredibly excited to welcome Heather Paul. Heather joined State Farm in 2001 as a public affairs specialist, leading PR campaigns for State Farm, focused on innovation and technology, dog prevention, which State Farm has done some incredible educational work on, and teaching children about the value of being kind to animals, another great program. She also coordinates the State Farm Arson Dog Program, which trains accelerant detection canines and handlers throughout the US and Canada. Her work with accelerant detection canine teams has resulted in her appointment to the Coalition Against Insurance Fraud Communication Committee. Outside of her corporate life, if one has a life outside of our corporate lives, Heather works closely with many local nonprofit organizations and boards. She's a founder and past executive board member for the West Bloomington Revitalization Project, and has served on the board of directors for Habitat for Humanity of McLean County and the Miller Park Zoological Society. In her spare time, and this really probably is what impresses me the most, Heather has obtained the rank of 3rd degree black belt in Taekwondo, 1st degree black belt in Hapkido. Heather, how do you pronounce that?
That's correct.
Hapkido. And 1st degree black belt in Jiu-Jitsu. I am so impressed with you, Heather. She is also an FAA licensed drone pilot, a photographer and videographer, and shares her home with her 17-year-old son, Hunter, and their fur kids, 2 guinea pigs, 2 pit bulls, and 1 pug. Heather, that's a tough act to follow. Even your introduction is a little intimidating, but please take it away.
Thank you, Christy. Yeah, I like to keep it interesting and busy at my house, as well as my personal life. You can obviously see, though, that my passion for what I do at my job is what I like to do at home, and what I do at home is also what I like to do at my job. So I'm able to combine all of the things that I enjoy the most. Thank you all, though, for joining us this evening. I know that it's with the holiday season. It's so many things going on, from shopping and spending time with friends and family. So I appreciate you taking the time out to listen and learn a little bit more about what State Farm as an insurance company is doing in the pet space. I think that what you're going to find is we're doing a lot more than what you probably ever knew or realized. So I'm going to start it off with a video that I like to share that just kind of demonstrates a little bit about what we enjoy about our fur friends. So this is my household. Of course, I've got a picture of me with arson dog Judge, who is newly retired from the Allentown Fire Department in Pennsylvania. And then you also see some pictures of what I fondly refer to as my nerd herd. They are Yoshi, my pug, and Gal, my pit bull, and my other Staffordshire Terrier is Jill Valentine, aka Jilly Bean. They keep my house and life fun and busy. But I've always had a love of animals. I grew up on a farm in Iowa where we had, of course, dogs, cows, horses, everything. And my mom always instilled in me a great love of animals. And that transpired into when I graduated from college. I ended up working as an assistant manager at Petco here in Bloomington Normal for several years. And then I eventually worked at a veterinary hospital also for 5 years before I joined State Farm. So my past history has helped me out a great deal in understanding a little bit more about not only pet owner needs, but our animal needs. So State Farm's mission is to help people manage the risks of everyday life, recover from the unexpected, and realize their dreams. But I'd like to take a step back and add a little bit to that mission. And by the end, I think you'll understand even further about what I've added into that. And that's that State Farm's mission is to help people and their pets manage the risks of everyday life, recover from the unexpected, and realize their dreams. That is all about what we do as a company, what we do for our employees, and what we do for our agents. The dog that you see on the far right, sitting at the State Farm's office, is Delilah. She's actually the dog and assistant manager, office manager, if you will, for one of our State Farm agents. And yes, she is a pit bull. And you will, if you don't already know, one of the great things that we're going to talk about is how we have a unique role in the insurance industry in that we don't have a breed restriction policy. We recognize that all dogs are individuals, and instead we focus on teaching adults and children about being kindness, about respecting and loving all pets. But more importantly, that it is owner responsibility that is critical when it comes to both reducing dog bites as well as reduce the number of animals that are in shelters. So some of the things I'm going to touch on a little bit. First and foremost, which is probably one of the coolest parts of my job, is the State Farm Arson Dog Program. We're going to learn a little bit about it. I'm going to show you some video of how these dogs work, but it is one of the most amazing programs I think that any insurance company has ever done on the planet. Maybe I'm a little biased because I run it, but I also get to know the first responders and their canines, and they truly are absolutely incredible. We're also going to talk a little bit about what we do with Dog Bite Prevention Week, with the Dog Bite Prevention Coalition, training children about being safe, but also train another high-risk group, which is postal carriers. Next, we're going to talk about one of my and Dr. Marty Becker's favorite friends, Victoria Stillwell. She's an animal behavior trainer from Animal Planet Show. It's Me or the Dog. She also with us on a program called Kindness is Powerful, which teaches kids about respecting animals. And then we're going to end it by talking a little bit more, going into what State Farm is doing for animal shelters and rescues, some of the products and services we have, and even some of the grant programs that we offer. So for any of you that may work in a shelter or a rescue where there may be a State Farm volunteer or they've provided a grant to you as an agent or employee, there may be some potential for some money out of that, which you always can appreciate. First, I want to point out, of course, as I mentioned, pets are an important part of their family. They're important to me, they're important to our agents and employees, and they're important to you. We actually insure more homes with pets than any other insurance company. And when you consider that more than 68% of US households have a pet, that's an enormous amount of responsibility and enormous amount of fur love that we have all across the country. And as I mentioned, we're also one of the few insurers in the country that does not ask about dog breed when providing insurance coverage for homeowners insurance, renters insurance, or commercial insurance. We instead focus on the health and safety and quality of life for pets, and we also encourage a positive and humane way of educating our customers and our children as well about being kind to animals. All of that ultimately is to hope to reduce not only the number of animals that are in shelters, but also reduce the number of dog bite claims. But for those of you that might be veterinarians or groomers, we also offer, outside of homeowners and homeowners insurance and renters insurance, we also have small business insurance, and we have recently been this year piloting pet medical insurance, which we plan to launch at a national level starting in 2019. So for those of you that may be in small business, we do offer an animal care services policy, and that's available for pet stores, kennel owners, groomers, veterinary hospitals. And that covers things as all small business owners are going to be interested in. Your property, so that's your building, your equipment, tools, everything that you need to work your business, but also liability, accidental injury, loss of income, even computer property. So I encourage you, if you haven't already talked to an agent, look at some of the things that we offer and provide, because it is not only important for you as a small business owner to reach out to State Farm and help support us in the things that we're doing, but our State Farm agents are small business owners as well. So they certainly understand how they can help you and understand what your needs are. And as I mentioned, we also have pet medical insurance, which is a Trupanion product. So we're working directly with Trupanion, and we piloted it this year in Arizona, Colorado, Oregon, Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana. And it is available, of course, for cats and dogs. You can go into a State Farm agent's office in any of these states. Starting next year, we'll be rolling it out nationwide, so you can talk to your State Farm agent. You can get a quote online, and State Farm agents can help write the policy. Again, it is going to be underwritten and supported by Trupanion. It's really good especially if those of you are getting puppies and kittens. That is when it is most affordable to have. But it's a great way for us to round out all of the things that we're doing in the pet industry. Dog bite prevention. Of course, that's where we really got started doing a lot of the education and outreach that we do around pets. We understand and recognize that any dog can bite regardless of breed. And it's frightening to understand and know that children make up more than 50% of all dog bite victims. And in particular, half of all children under age 12 will have been bitten by a dog. There are certainly highest for children that are in the ages of 5 to 9 years old, and nearly 2/3 of those injuries are to children ages 4 years and younger, to the head and neck region. They're small, they get down, and what you see is kids will get down close to the dog's face, they want to hug them, they want to kiss them, and they don't understand that that's not comfortable dog body language. They don't understand that it's not normal for dogs to be hugged and kissed, that our pets may tolerate it, but it's not normal behavior. The other high-risk groups, of course, are elderly and home service people like letter carriers. And we partner each year with the U.S. Postal Service. I'll talk about this just in a bit, but we really talk about it, about the number of postal carriers that are bitten each year is significant. When you have 6,244 postal employees that were bitten by dogs just in 2017. I've recently been doing some dog body language training with the postal carriers in Chicago post offices. And I can't tell you how many of them have been bitten 3 to 4 times just this year. So it is frightening. It's something that they just want to go out and do their jobs without in fear of being attacked, being bitten. And unfortunately, a lot of that is children opening up the door for dogs to, if they're accepting a package, or it is the phrase, "Don't worry, my dog won't bite." when they open up the door to accept a package or to get the mail, and their dog runs out between their legs. Now, while we have seen a slight decrease, 6,000, over 6,000 postal employees is far, far too many. And that's why that is also an area that we like to focus on. Homeowners and renters insurance policies will typically cover dog bite expenses up to liability limits. So if you have a regular homeowner policy, or if you have a commercial policy, even a renter's policy, there's a limit to which that's going to be covered underneath that. If it exceeds that limit, the dog owner may be responsible for all those additional damages, whether that is for medical expenses, lawsuit, which we always recommend having an additional rider policy that you can purchase to cover any of those additional expenses that may come out of a dog bite. For State Farm, each year we release our dog bite claims. It's part of our participation with the National Dog Bite Prevention Week Coalition. And just this year alone, State Farm paid over $132 million for dog-related injury claims. That's homeowner, commercial, farm, and ranch policies. A number of those claims actually end up being postal carriers. They, whether they have workman's comp, they're going to have to collect, whether that's through subrogation, where the homeowner and their insurance company have to pay, or contacting the homeowner directly to pay those claims. But the average claim that we've paid out just this year or last year was $36,573. That's just average per claim, and that includes medical expenses. That includes anything that may come up from lawsuits. We see that number. While we see the number of dog-related claims decreasing, what we are seeing consistently increase is the amount paid for dog-related injuries. And one thing that people don't understand when it comes to insurance and dog bite claims or dog-related injury claims is that it doesn't have to just be a bite. It doesn't necessarily have to just be teeth to flesh. That could be if you have an exuberant happy dog that's jumped up and knocked you down the stairs and you broke your arm or broke your leg. That plays into it as well. So while we use the term dog bite claims, it's actually dog-related injury claims, and those are all fall underneath your liability policy. So just over the past 10 years, State Farm alone has paid for nearly 36,000 dog-related injury claims. And in that time period, over $1 billion. Obviously, this is something we want to decrease, not only because of the expense, but because these are people being injured. And it is not necessarily the fault of the dog. We have to reinforce owner responsibility, but also properly educate children and people how to interact with dogs. And that is why we are one of the founding members and continue to participate each year in National Dog Bite Prevention Week and the Coalition. Dog Bite Prevention Week occurs the second week of April every year. And with that, we partner with the United States Postal Service, the American Veterinary Medical Association, the Insurance Information Institute, and American Humane. We spend that week really reinforcing the importance of responsible pet ownership and understanding dog body language. Far too many times people don't read dogs. They mistake and miss many of the cues that dogs give us that they are not comfortable. Looking at their eyes, looking at their ears, their tail, their whole body is telling us and communicating to us how they feel. And we misread that or don't read it at all, which results in, unfortunately, dog bites. So we partner each year with those groups to try to raise awareness about what the dangers of dogs that are not kept by responsible pet owners. We also focus on Kindness is Powerful with Victoria Stilwell. She is an amazing dog trainer. She's an author, television personality, and just an all-around fantastic person. And she came up with a partnership with State Farm several years ago where we started doing a program called Kindness is Powerful. We go into schools, particularly inner city or low-income community schools, where we teach children about being kind to animals, both to and anti-bullying, so both with dogs as well as people. Positivity, respect. We want to teach them and start them early at how to be a responsible pet owner and about how to properly approach and interact with the dog. And since 2016, we've been able to present this program to over 15,000 children across the country. We find that a lot of the times they interact very positively when we bring in pit bulls. So we've worked with Leah Brewer, with Ellie the Pit Bull, who is the winner of the 2013 American Humane Dog of the Year. We also work with Aladdin, with Michelle Schaefer-Stevens. Aladdin is also a hero dog winner. And we also work with other local animals, and whether they come from a veterinary hospital, they partner with us through animal shelters and rescues, or their therapy dogs. We wanted to bring them into the school, and through a 1-hour presentation, we teach children and adults, because we find that teachers need it just as much as the kids do. But we also present them with information about how dogs help us every single day, whether that's having a job of sitting on our lap and giving us comfort, or whether it's helping to solve crime, like the Arson Dog program. So this is, as I've mentioned before, this is one of my probably the greatest highlights of my 18-year career at State Farm, is having the last 10 years being able to coordinate the State Farm Arson Dog program. This program is very unique in that there is no other insurance company or company period outside of the federal government who provides the funding and the training for the acquisition of accelerant detection K9 teams. And these are highly skilled dogs and trainers that and handlers that literally help to solve crime in communities, big and small. So of course the logical question is, all right, well, why is State Farm providing dogs for firefighters and police officers? Well, obviously as the largest homeowner insurer, we insure more homes than any other company in North America. There's also the problem of severity of arson. It literally costs billions of dollars each year in property damage. Hundreds of lives are lost. And it actually, arson as a crime has a direct impact on property values and on insurance premiums. If you have a home that has been burned and it is suspected to be arson, that impacts your crime rates, it impacts your property values, but it also impacts your taxes, because that's tax dollars that are going into investigating it, sending off materials to and evidence to crime labs for confirmation, and time, oftentimes overtime that it takes. So if we can provide a tool that can support state and local fire departments and law enforcement agencies, we like to call it leveling the playing field between the good guys and the bad guys. And if you want to learn more about it after this, you can visit the website, arsondog.org, which we have a series of videos that will demonstrate some of the training that we've done, the benefits of the program, and you can learn more about it. This program is only available to full-time police officers or firefighters, but it is available to any community, regardless if State Farm is writing the policy. If State Farm is in that state, we have teams that are in Canada, and we don't write business in Canada. We have teams in Rhode Island and Massachusetts where we don't write property business. It is really designed to be a community tool, and it is one of the best defenses against arson crime. This picture makes me laugh every time I see it, because we do all of our training previously was in Maine, now it's in New Hampshire. But this is this is a picture from the very first class. The tallest gentleman that you see on the far right of this picture is Paul Gallagher. He is the owner and head trainer of Maine Specialty Dogs. This picture is from February 1993, when the very first class was held. Paul is still the head trainer for all of our arson dog programs. For 25 years, we have had his expertise and his leadership in training some of the finest accelerant detection K9 teams in not only North America, but actually in the world. We get requests from all over the world to train dogs because it really top notch. He knows more about these types of dogs and the training that goes into it than anybody else really on the planet. But since 1993, we've actually provided 100% of the funding for the acquisition and training of more than 400 teams. At this time, we actually have 100 certified active teams across North America. And each year we train anywhere from 10 to 15 new teams that are out there investigating fires. The program, as I mentioned, is only available to public entities, so police or fire departments. We do not train dogs for private use. We want this to be a community tool. So we want these handlers and these dogs to be able to go out and invest in safety in their community. And while they're not investigating fires, they're also doing outreach and education to children at schools about fire prevention, about arson. And we find that we always do this training. We find that the kids, obviously, if they can get a friendly lab, they're going to be listen even more than it's just a talking head or a firefighter, the police officer standing in front of them talking. They're going to listen and they're going to go back to their parents and say, K9 Sadie told me that we needed to have an escape route in our house if there's a fire. They go back and they respond better to a friendly dog. And the program covers, again, all of the expenses for it. So we acquire the dogs through Seeing Eye and guide dog programs from animal shelters and animal rescues as well. The dogs that we acquire from Seeing Eye guide dog programs or disability assistance program are what we call career changed, which is the nice way of saying that they flunked out of guide dog school, usually because they didn't want to stop chasing the squirrel. We want to take that type of energy and that enthusiasm, that heart that that dog has, and put them to service. Give them a job that they're going to enjoy doing for 5 or up to 10 years. We also provide funding for the training as well as the travel of the dog and the handler for the 4 weeks that they spend in New Hampshire working with their canine partner. I'm going to show this video and I'm going to talk through it as I'm showing it. That, as I mentioned, all of our dogs are labs. They're Labrador retrievers. Some of them are Goldadors, which is a golden retriever lab mix. And we choose them for this very reason, because they're enthusiastic, because they're a happy-go-lucky dog that wants to please. And we, of course, if they're going into schools, everybody loves a lab. This is our training building that we do in Concord, New Hampshire. This is one of our dogs. This is Russ Whitney with K9 Daz. They are with the Salt Lake City Fire Department. And you'll see Daz is doing the alert, which is when it's a passive alert, which means that when she smells accelerant that may have been used to start a fire, in this case, it's just a drop of our training aid, she will sit and put her nose down to where she smells it. This is also one of our dogs through training. This is Marvel, who's a dog that's in Virginia. And again, passive alert, when Marvel smells it, puts nose down, points it directly to where it is. The handler then feeds the dog. These are all food reward dogs, which means that they only eat out of the hand of their handler for their entire life. They never eat out of a dog food bowl. It not only do these, of course, all dogs love food, but these dogs really, really love their handler because that's the only way they get fed, from that pouch. It increases the bond and relationship between the handler. And it also, though, some of you may have seen dogs that are play reward, which is they get a Kong toy or a tug toy. Food reward works on a similar system, that the dog is rewarded with just a handful of dog food. This is our Canine Deacon. He's a dog that is with the Waterloo Fire Department in Iowa. And again, you'll see the dog, that Canine Deacon is pointing, and they're very enthusiastically, very ready to get that handful of dog food. These dogs only work off of high praise and food. So for every single day, when they're not working a fire scene, these dogs are going through training multiple times a day. It takes a lot of commitment from these handlers, because you or I, when we feel sick or we don't feel like, doing anything that day, We can lay in bed and we can flip channels. These handlers, if they're not feeling well, they still have to train their dog. They still have to work their dog in order to feed them. So they can't just put their dog in a boarding facility if they want to go on vacation. They still have to train. It takes a lot of commitment, and it takes a very special person every single day to have this type of bond and commitment and dedication. We've had people that have handlers that have come into the program excited to be able to work a dog and realize it's just a lot of work. I have the utmost respect for the men and women that work canines, especially food reward dogs, because it does take a great deal of time and effort. But when you see these dogs work, and the first call that you get when they've worked a fire scene and their dog is alerted to potential evidence, you hear that excitement in their voice, and they're like, it works, it works. And it's like, yes, we know. That's why we've been placing these dogs in communities for more than 25 years. And I would be remiss if I didn't give a great deal of shout out to the time and commitment that our trainers have. These trainers will go around the country, acquire dogs, test them, get them prepared, which is imprinting for the class, and then do the 4 weeks of training. So year round, they're looking for dogs, they're training dogs, they're getting everything ready, and they are literally the best in the industry when it comes to this type of work. I'm incredibly proud of all of these dogs and handlers for what they do every day. They also do participate in some of our Kindness is Powerful events where they'll bring a dog in, they'll do a demonstration for children to show the value of what kindness and respect and love to a dog will do. And given the fact that these are dogs that do this most important work, and they do it literally for praise and handful of dog food, shows you that dogs, when they're treated with that type of kindness, really will do anything. One of the newest programs that we've started just in the past year and a half to 2 years is Neighborhood of Good. This is about turning caring into doing. We all are very passionate about volunteering in our communities and wanting to help out animals that are in shelters. And State Farm wants to support that. So through Neighborhood of Good, we have created a website where we can connect people and their passions with organizations and nonprofits that need volunteers. So with more than 19,000 State Farm agents across the country and 70,000 employees, we absolutely know that we are the ones that can help drive change in our neighborhoods, but we can't do it alone. And that's why we launched Neighborhood of Good, so that we could help connect people with their passion. So through Neighborhood of Good, you can go on and see not only just pet rescue, but also any other, whether it's military, whether it's homelessness, whether it's poverty, many, many different passions you can find, and then get connected with nonprofit organizations to find out how you can help support their efforts. So you can go to Neighborhood of Good and find those. If you're a nonprofit organization, you can go to the website allforgood.org and post your volunteer opportunities, because there's a lot of need out there. And if we can help get people to connect to those, everybody wins, especially the animals. So one of the most popular categories, I know you're not all surprised, is with pet rescue. We've had a great deal of success. And it's things, even doing things like our activations across the country with animal shelters and rescues, where we have people come and learn how to make pet beds or cat toys, things like that, which may seem simple to some, but it's that start. It's getting people to understand and go walk into a shelter and see just how many dogs and cats are in the shelter and what they can do to help change that. We can't do it alone, which is why we created Neighborhood of Good. Another great program that we have, especially if any of you are with nonprofit organizations, is our Good Neighbor Grant and our Match a Gift program. So through our Good Neighbor Grant program, any State Farm employee, agent, or retiree who volunteers a minimum of 40 hours per year to a nonprofit organization, which includes animal shelters and rescues, can apply to have a $500 grant made on the behalf of that employee or agent to the nonprofit. This is a wonderful way for us to support our own employees volunteering and also provide some financial support to those nonprofits. Another program that we have through our State Farm Foundation is our matching gift program. So through our matching gift, any contribution made to a charitable organization is eligible for a matching gift of up to $1,500 per calendar year. So it can be a minimum of $25 and up to $1,500. So again, if you have volunteers that are with your organization that are State Farm employees or State Farm agents, remind them about this. Remind them about the Good Neighbor Grant Program, or remind them about the matching gift program. Some of you may be already aware of it, but it's always a wonderful opportunity to show your appreciation to all of those employees and agents that volunteer. And last, I want to highlight some of our catastrophe response. Obviously, as a property and casualty insurer, this is something that it's important for us to respond when our policyholders need us the most, and sometimes our policyholders, their pets need us the most in a catastrophe. We try to provide information about disaster preparedness before a catastrophe, a hurricane or tornado, wildfire hits, but we're also there for afterwards. And this is an example recently of the horrific wildfires that we experienced in California, in Southern and Northern California. And we had State Farm agents that were there to help in the Southern, just in particular with this instance in our Southern California area, that we had a number of people that were being evacuated and going to a local community college for shelter, and were being turned away, or their pets were being turned away because they didn't have any kennels to be able to stay in the same room with their pet. So we had State Farm agents that went out on their own and purchased more than 100 kennels that would allow the owners and the pets to be able to stay together. This isn't something that we ask them to do. This is the very nature of what State Farm agents and employees are all about. We have just recently also donated home security devices to animal shelters and rescues that were impacted by Hurricanes Florence and Hurricane Michael. As their rebuilding effort, one of the things is being able to monitor and see and hear what they're doing, what their pets are doing. So we partnered with home security system company Canary, so that these do-it-yourself home security systems could help them as they not only recovered, but in preparation for any other actual events. So with that, 40 minutes just on the dot, like I said it would, Christy. And I'm sure that there's any questions or comments, things that you want to ask me about. And now is a wonderful time for me to answer any of those questions.
Wow, Heather, thank you so much. That was fantastic. I was texting with people while I was listening going, this is so fantastic. I really enjoyed it. So Heather, we have several questions from the audience, but I would like to ask you one of my own first. Is Neighborhood of Good somewhere that anyone can go and look for volunteer opportunities, or is it just for State Farm customers?
It is available for anybody. You don't have to be a State Farm customer to find opportunities, because similar to like the Arson Dog program, we want to benefit communities regardless of who the insurer is. And while we greatly appreciate and are enthusiastic about our customers that are interested in volunteer opportunities, we also want to show support and appreciation for all of those that aren't. So anybody can go to the Neighborhood of Good website and identify what are their volunteer opportunities. And again, as I mentioned, if there's nonprofits that have volunteer opportunities that are not signed up, we strongly encourage you to go for All for Good and sign up your volunteer opportunities.
Fantastic, thank you. Um, so a question that someone had, which is embedded in a statement of amazement and how knowledgeable you are, which I can only second, was she mentioned that her insurance, to her recollection, didn't even ask her if she had pets. Is there sometimes boilerplate language that people don't notice that might be of concern to those who have pit bulls and other stigmatized breeds?
It's
Not
a
in your
wonderful.
policies, in just in general.
Correct. That's a wonderful question, and we have you saw we have 19,000 State Farm agents. That's a lot, and while we try to every State Farm agent is aware and of our policy, there are questions sometimes that get asked that can cause some confusion. So, for example, if you're a renter and you are required to have a quote unquote dangerous breed policy. You may have a landlord that says, hey, we won't rent to you because you have a pit bull or a bully breed without a dangerous breed policy or a dangerous breed letter from your insurance company. You may call a State Farm agent and ask for that, and we will say we don't have that. It's not because you have a pit bull or because you have a bully breed. It's because we don't recognize a dangerous breed policy. We don't have a dangerous breed policy. We have homeowners policies, renters policies, but we don't recognize that there's a dangerous breed. So that sometimes can cause confusion if you ask for that and you're turned away. There also may be instances where uh, while typically our State Farm agents don't ask, one, they don't ask what breed of dog you have, or if they do ask anything, it may be if your dog has ever had any special training, and that's like training for protection and things like that. They typically don't. On our policy right now, when you go into a State Farm agent's office, there's not even a field that states how many dogs or what type of dog do you have in your home. They may ask out of curiosity because it's a great conversation starter. What kind of, do you have any pets? Just like they may ask, do you have kids? But that does not play into the underwriting or decisions to write or renew a policy. There is nothing that states because you have a specific type of dog that you would be turned away for that. Now, if your dog has bitten, if you have a dog and they have a history where they may have bitten somebody, that certainly could that could impact the underwriting or writing of that policy because that shows that there may be a potential increased risk. But even then, it's on a case by case basis. Just as if your dog were to bite somebody, doesn't mean that you're automatically going to be canceled from your insurance. There are lots of reasons and lots of instances that your dog may have acted out and that you may not be canceled. Um, when I mentioned before about dog-related injuries, like if your dog jumps up and you fall down the stairs and break your arm, that is a dog-related injury claim. Especially if it happens to a family member or a friend or something like that, and they turn around and have to go to an emergency room and then they file a claim. But that isn't going to necessarily mean that you're going to automatically be canceled. So it's not a one bite and you're out policy. Um, it definitely, depending on the severity and depending on other information, you may be canceled. And then again, based off of what actually happened, you may be fine.
And what about in the industry in general? Do most companies ask about pet ownership? Is this something that they typically do?
While I can't speak for other insurance companies, we do partner each year with the Insurance Information Institute, which is our industry organization. And there's a number of many insurance companies do have a breed restriction policy. They may ask what type of breed of dog. What I can tell you that is important is even if you are with a company and whether it's State Farm or a different insurance company, don't lie about what breed of dog you have. The reason that I say that is because if you lie, if you say that you don't have a dog, or you don't have a specific breed of dog, and your dog does injure someone, that could make your policy null and void. And it could leave you open to significant financial loss because of liability. So the best thing to do is to be open and honest, regardless of who your insurance company is. But know that if you do have a bully breed or a breed that is typically restricted, um, Rottweilers or other types of dogs, that State Farm isn't going to ask nor care what breed it is.
What, what, I'm sorry. This was my question again because I'm completely self-absorbed, but it flew out of my head. So let's go back to the audience. Uh, so this is a question about the Arson Dog program, wondering how you choose or how the dogs who are chosen to be trained are selected. Is it their
Excellent.
personality or other factors that go into choosing them?
Excellent question. So it is it is choosing the dogs is always difficult. You know, you walk in and you see these all these amazing dogs, and it's more than just having a great nose. We all know that dogs have wonderful noses. That's why they're able to do the things that they do for us. It's a dog that has a strong prey drive, an overwhelming desire to find something, and that could be a tennis ball. That could be, hey, I love looking for squirrels. You know, that is a dog that has heart. Even then, it doesn't mean that that dog is going to make it as an accelerant detection canine, because they have to be willing to have heart every single day, multiple times a day, regardless of what the weather is, for 5, 6, 7, up to 10 years. It takes a very special dog to do that. And our trainers are very, very skilled at identifying the traits, that enthusiasm, that hyper prey drive, and also the heart that they need to have. Of course, having a happy, warm, outgoing nose. We don't want dogs that are aggressive towards other dogs, because there's going to be lots of situations where they may be at a fire scene and there may be stray dogs around, other people around. So these are very friendly, outgoing dogs. One of the reasons that we choose labs is because they're not as intimidating as maybe some other dogs that are typically associated with law enforcement, like a German Shepherd or a Malinois. And a friendly lab is something that everybody feels comfortable around. And sometimes that comfortable around is also the arsonist. These dogs can work crowds, they can sniff shoes and pant legs, and it's not unusual to actually find the arsonist that is at the fire scene where they can do a criminal lineup and identify them right then. So it's really amazing to watch these dogs work. They can work very quickly, efficiently, and effectively. It reduces so much time in that investigation, and reduces, as a result of that, taxpayer dollars, and hope it could even then equate to a reduction in your premiums. Less fires equals less insurance money paid out.
Heather, I'm not hearing you anymore. I don't know if
Can you hear me now?
other people in the audience. Oh, now I can. You're back.
All right. Where did you lose me at?
You were saying where the dogs were sniffing the arsonist and that
Yep.
it could save taxpayer dollars and premiums, but I don't know what else you said.
That was it. I ended it with that.
Okay, great. The Another question is, when you have a policy with an insurance company or with State Farm, let's just say, homeowners insurance, and then you go out and you adopt a pet or get a new pet after you've been with them for some amount of time, I don't think it would occur to me to tell my insurance company I'd gotten a new dog, um, or a different type of dog. Do you find that that's a common occurrence?
Well, for State Farm, since we don't care what breed of dog you have, and our underwriting is not about what pet you have in the house, um, we love for you to tell us what kind of dog, but it's more of just because we want to have a relationship and get to know our clients and support our clients and our family and as family and friends. But it's not part of that. If you go and adopt a dog, that you need to call State Farm and let us know, hey, I've got a new dog. Now, with our pet insurance product, certainly if you get a new puppy or kitten, it's great because it allows our agents to talk to you a little bit about how to manage some of the finances and help to protect you and your pet um, from undue expense related to veterinary costs. But other insurance companies,
Right.
and I can't really talk about I can't really talk about what other insurance companies may have. Um, again, what
brought it to mind was
stress.
when you were saying never lie to your insurance company.
Yes,
You wouldn't lie to them, but it just might not occur to you after you've
right.
been with a company and you get a dog, you wouldn't even think about telling them. And then I'm wondering, are all those people, are their policies null and void? So it just, there's no mechanism like there is with a car, for
No,
example, to tell you, oh yeah, you have to, yeah, yeah. So
no. The unfortunate the
interesting
unfortunate
thought.
the unfortunate thing is sometimes it may be that you post a picture on social media of your new pet. It happens to be a bully breed, and your insurance company sees it, or your agent from another company sees it, and they may contact you and say, "Did you adopt a new dog?" And hey, it's a pit bull, and that's not a breed that we write your policy. So while they may not cancel your insurance policy, they may put a restriction on, we will not cover any losses that are associated with that dog. So there's many different ways that
Wow.
insurance companies. I'm going to recommend, regardless if you're with State Farm or another insurance company, is have a conversation with your insurer about it. It's so important for you to understand what your policy does and does not cover, because it, fear, anxiety, and stress, which is what Fear Free is all about, shouldn't be a part of what
Mm.
insurance. And if you don't ask the questions of your insurance company, you could be putting yourself at great financial risk should something happen and it's not covered. So the best way to always protect yourself is to have a conversation with your insurance company.
Um, Excellent advice. We have another question about the Neighborhood of Good program, wondering, does it include farm animal rescue nonprofit groups?
Absolutely. It includes any type of rescue group. I mean, we have traditional animal shelters and rescues. We have a variety of different programs. We've even provided support for prison programs. I just had the opportunity to visit an amazing prison program down in Jacksonville, Florida, with my good friend Jen Dean from Pit Sisters, and where prisoners, inmates, are taking dogs that are from animal shelters and rescues and training them to be adopted by families. And we've provided funding through our Neighborhood Assist, which is also part of Neighborhood of Good, that help to support some of those types of programs. So we're very open to farm animals, animals that are being used for therapy purposes, horses, and other types of livestock. So absolutely.
Fantastic. It's a wonderful program. Someone has a question about, I think they wanted to know a little bit more about your State Farm's coverage for dog-related injuries? Is this a rider policy, a rider to a policy? Um, how does it work?
Great question. So as I mentioned before, so when you have a homeowner's policy or a commercial policy, even a renter's policy, all of that, you've got a certain amount within that policy that is for liability. That may be $100,000 up to $300,000, depending on the policy that is written. And then above and beyond that, so let's say, for example, you have a dog that bites someone, and due to plastic surgery and a lawsuit and everything else, that amount comes out to $500,000. And you have your standard homeowner policy that provides coverage for up to $300,000. That extra $200,000, if you don't have a rider policy, an additional policy, could end up resulting in you having to pay that $200,000 out of pocket. So for extra protection, it's always recommended that you talk to your insurance agent about having an additional rider policy that can cover even up to $1 million. It is not unusual in this day and age to see legal claims come out to that. So one is that we see a reduction in dog-related injury claims, but an increase in the amount paid out is because everybody sues. So there's a lot of money that goes out and is being awarded for legal judgments. There's also additional costs for medical insurance, and even more so for plastic surgery. So the best defense, especially if you've got multiple dogs, or a dog maybe that doesn't necessarily like people or is uncomfortable around strangers, is to have that rider policy to protect yourself and to protect your dog as well.
Heather, you cut out for me again. I don't know if other people can hear you or not, but there you are.
Yep.
Oh, you're gone again. Are you there?
Yeah, I think there's just a little delay.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry about that. And sorry to everybody in the audience. Well, we are almost at the end. We only have one more question. So the timing is great. Someone acknowledging that you may not be able to answer this question, but how do, in your networking with colleagues or attendance at conferences, how do other companies deal with policyholders who have a dog of unknown breed background but may resemble a pit bull type dog?
Excellent question, and one unfortunately that I can't answer because, again, every insurance company may have a different way of viewing it. My perspective of working for State Farm, but also as the owner of 2 bully breeds, and something that I see a lot is one of the reasons that we also don't have a breed restriction policy is because it is so difficult to look at a dog and instantly know not only what are the breed, and especially if it's a mixed breed, what are the mixed breeds of that, but then how its personality, what are its traits. When we teach children about body language, one of the things we talk about is, do you like people, every person that you meet every single minute of every single day? And that's what we expect our dogs to do. That's what we expect pets to do. When we put them in positions where they're not comfortable, and we expect them to be angels or to tolerate a lot of things. We ask so much of our pets. We bring them into places that are not comfortable. And so a dog is not making that decision because they're a pit bull lab mix, and suddenly that day they're like, you know what, I think I'm going to be a pit bull today instead of a lab today. We look at dogs as individuals and recognize that there's situations that are different. Any dog can have a bad day. They can have people that they're not comfortable around, or situations that they're not comfortable. What the best that we can do as an insurance provider is teach people how to reduce the risk of their dog biting someone by being responsible, and also by teaching people to understand dog body language. We can't expect the dogs to regulate their behavior. We, as their caretakers, have to be responsible for that.
That's a fantastic note and message to end on. I want to thank you so much, Heather, for an incredible presentation. I learned a lot, and also wanted to thank State Farm for bringing it to us and everyone who was with us here this evening. Just a reminder that this presentation will be available at fearfreepets.com/webinars within a week or two. And we would also just like to wish everyone a very happy holidays, including a happy new year. This is our final webinar of 2018. So thank you for closing the year out with us tonight, Heather.